Some things never cease to amaze me. Sunrises, hitting a golf ball straight, and the overwhelming ignorance of the common person. Here's a thought. Use Form Bs to determine classification. This, in fact, is competitive balance. Season 8 of SunCoaches Podcast, where not everyone is funny or tells funny stories, but everyone has a story. Welcome to SunCoaches Podcast, Season 8, and as I am every Sunday night, I am joined by Coach Ed Gaffca, the Executive Director of the Georgia Fired Football Coaches Association. Coach Ed, thanks for being on with me.
As always, enjoy catching up on Sundays.
Absolutely, and the first topic of discussion that we're going to have this week is I am back from Atlanta. I have trying to recover from the first annual SunCoaches Retreat, and Coach, it was absolutely fantastic. I couldn't be more thankful. I couldn't be more appreciative, and I couldn't be more humbled with the outpouring of support that we had and the guys that were able to come. I know it was a bad weekend for a lot of people because they had opening day for their kids' ball team, or somebody was getting married, or they had a planned trip or whatever. But have no fear. We're going to do a Friday, Saturday next year. So people will want to get out of school, and they like that better than just banging a Saturday. And the Embassy Suites Hotel at Alpharetta House Inn was so good to us. Miss Boverly took great care of us. They did a great job. The venue was D1, not even close, Power 4, top 5 ranking, gonna play for the national championship places to eat. You stay right there. Everything's in house. You don't have to go anywhere. There's entertainment in the evening. I mean, it was just really, really nice. And Coach James Thompson did a great job of getting us the venue, and he's the guy behind the scenes, the brainchild of the retreat, and all of the guys that led the fellowship, all of the schools that participated in that. We had 3 rooms going, and it was fantastic. They did a great job. They provided great speakers. Their speakers were organized. They were legit. There were no college coaches. There were no vendors. Now, we may have to have vendors just to defray some of the costs next year, but it was fantastic. I was a little upset that I wasn't able to provide lunch, but, in a hotel like that, you can't bring outside food in, and what they charge to cater it is I couldn't keep the price point at $50 a staff if we did that. But I think the people that were there enjoyed it, and I hope they did. I'm going to make sure we get a survey out to at least, to people that I know out there, and just say, what did we do well? What do we need to do better? Because it's for the coaches. I mean, it's a retreat. We get off, we talk ball. A lot of people learned a lot of things yesterday, and a lot of people got to see different aspects of the high school game. Breaking it up into classifications allowed smaller school coaches that's never coached at a big school to see what big school guys have to deal with. And conversely, the big school coaches got to see, like, for instance, Creekview talked about having 4 scout teams. Not young, but one of the small school coaches told me, he was like, crap, they got more people on scout teams than we got. So it was, and as somebody that's coached it in all classifications, I've lived it and seen it. I got to meet some new people. We had a lot of guys that showed up just because they enjoy SunCoaches Podcast and they wanted to be supportive, and I appreciate it. I could never repay the kindness of everybody showing up, and we're super excited about next year. I've already got 4 schools committed to leading fellowships next year, and we're really excited about it. We're going to have it in the same spot, and we're probably going to there's no probably. We're going to try to do a Friday, Saturday. We're going to try to do it in the same spot. We may have some branding. We may have to have some guys there. If there is a college staff there, we've kicked around the idea of letting a college staff come, but they're not to present. They're just to come and be there and fellowship with the coaches. And if they want to get to know Georgia high school coaches and some of the staffs, that'd be a great opportunity for them to do it. So that's something we're looking at for the future, but we're not going to let those guys get up and show us how they run drills or, any of that kind of stuff because we don't really care. It was a great day. I still don't care for Atlanta traffic. Took me 5 hours to get up there and 2.5 to get home. So, that was cool on the way back. It was the first time I have been past Children's Hospital on 400 and for you and everyone else up there, Dr. Josh Lowe, that's in Forsyth County, and it tried to get me up there for the past decade. I now get it. It's nice up there. It's real nice. I wouldn't fit in up there, but it's a nice area. It's a nice place. I now understand why coaches coach in that area and they never leave. Friday night, I got to Coach Thompson's house and Coach Jay Reed that owns Koala Wall had done our signs for us, and they looked freaking fantastic. And the man is he's such a good human. He calls me and tells me he's going to bring it to his house. I said, "Well, how far away are you, Coach?" He said, "About an hour." I said, "Oh, no, 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 no. I'll meet, what's halfway?" And he said, "Well, Gainesville." So we met in Gainesville and had a great talk. I can't wait to get him on the podcast, let him tell his story and just a good human and did a great job. If anybody needs decals, if you want your facility upgraded, you want it wrapped, you want your travel trailer wrapped, any kind of graphics, anything like that, I encourage you to get with Coach Jay Wall and Jay Reed. I'm sorry, Coach Jay Reed with Koala Wall. He's just such a good human, and not to mention the fact that he's going to do good work and he's going to take care of you. He's an old ball coach and he's still got some gas in the tank, and I hope he gets back in for selfish reasons. But it was really good. I got to see some old friends and got to make some new ones. I wish I could have participated more in the fellowship. Um, I sat and listened to Coach Pat Sullivan from Kings Ridge, and if anybody out there is trying to figure out how to coach undersized offensive linemen, you need to call Coach Slaney at Kings Ridge and set up a day to just sit down with Coach Sullivan because, you know, he's told us his right tackle this year might be their running back next year. So, I mean, 185-pound kids are playing offensive line for them. They went 8-4. They're effective. And I mean, they're undersized. As he pointed out, they're undersized for his league, much less, the general everybody else. And I got some great ideas on blocking outside zone from him. Um, Coach Stevie Harrison from Long County and Coach Chip Fuller that was Scott that was they tandem presented in a fellowship session and did a great job. Just a wonderful. It was good to see young coaches get up and take it seriously, get an opportunity, and put the work in, and just teach because the only thing we have over young coaches is experience. I mean, yeah, a lot of them, I mean, 98% of humans are smarter than I am, but a lot of these guys, I'm never going to take away from the fact that they're intelligent young men. The only thing I can beat you with is experience. I've probably seen a little bit more, and there's situations that come up that us old heads would know how to deal with a little bit better than you, only because of experience. It has nothing to do with intelligence. But I saw some very sharp, very well put together, polished young men yesterday that were leading sessions, answering questions, meeting with coaches, networking, and that's exactly what I wanted. I got everything I wanted out of it, and I can't wait till we do it next year.
Well, all the reviews I heard from everybody, echo that same sentiment. You know, I'm 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 thrilled to hear, especially about the young coaches, just having those opportunities and taking advantage of those opportunities because if you're not willing to get out there and speak on something, nobody cares if it's good or bad. You're around coaches and listen, they understand, but it's a great opportunity to just go out there and network, not be afraid to talk to people, generate connections, and there's never know when you're going to cross paths with those people down the road, and if you're engaging and able to kind of see eye to eye with different people across the state and other states, it's going to pay off in the long run. And when it comes to Jay Reed, Jay Reed's one of the first. first members of the GAFFCA. He signed an NDA way back in August when we started because he was going to do decals and just a great human being and hell of a football coach. And he when it comes to places on my shit list, Banks County is one of them because I mean, damn, they fire a 4-6, 5-5 head football coach and thinks they're a basketball school and decide that, well, we're going to move on from Jay Reed and now where are they? You know, I find it if you don't like Jay Reed, it's probably more of a problem with you. It's not a him thing. So, go kick rocks and I'll, I'll fight for Jay any day of the week. So if anybody needs team graphics, though, he does a hell of a job. He's going to work hard for you, and he'll make it work. He'll make it work for you. But no, I'm happy that everything went well and everybody enjoyed it. I'm excited for next year and excited to see it continue to grow and continue to get legs.
Yeah, coach, it was, you know, I was very intentional, and I will continue to be very intentional with who we have lead those fellowships. I mean, our 7A was Kareem Reed and the staff at McEachern. The 6A was at Creekview and Trevor Williams and his group. Chuck Kenyon is a very good friend of mine, came from Appalachia, and his guys did a great job. Stephen Holmes, one of the best football coaches, just a football coach from Pike County that chewed a lot of dirt as a young coach and works his tail off, has a great staff. They did a great job. Coach Slaney at Kings Ridge, outgoing head coach Brandon Bylam at Taylor County, who's now the head coach at Charlton County. His staff, they did a great job. The, Umbre Brown's bunch from Central Carrollton were fantastic. The Long County Mike Feaster, just a great human, and his staff. You can just tell. You can tell with each and every one of these groups that presented that every one of them, every single person on their staff, every one of the coaches, everything that they did reflected the leadership of the head coach. No head coach spoke. It was all staff leading, coaches, and it was phenomenal. I mean, I just, it's exactly what I wanted. It was exactly how I envisioned it, and it was fantastic. And I got to meet, there was a retired coach there that I got to meet, Coach Mark Adams. And I'm getting him on the podcast because you want to talk about a man that did everything for the right reasons in this business. He was the head coach at Cross Keys twice, because he wanted to. He's coached at Redan. He's coached at, he made the rounds in DeKalb. I mean, just, I don't, I got to hang out with him and talk to him, and it was fantastic. And he just came up just to hang out. And I couldn't have been more excited to sit down with somebody that shared the stories. And I'm going to have him on the podcast and he's got to tell his stories. Just like Jay Reed, these are the kind of people that we need to hear from. It just goes to show that there are way more good mechanics than there are shops out there. Um, I was super excited about everybody. I'm sure I've forgotten somebody. Coach Michael Johnson was there. Coach William Richardson was there. Coach Richardson got his hair cut, and Coach Johnson was wearing a hat, and I've never seen him with a hat on before. I didn't even recognize him. So I'm going to claim old man, feeble mind on that one, and that's not a big stretch. But again, I'd just like to thank everybody that was involved. We're going to go ahead and jump on it for next year. Coach Pickett from North Forsyth, from Central Forsyth Central, he was there. His group's going to present next year. Coach Jarrett Law's old friend of mine. He was so gracious to come. His group's going to present next year. Coach Richardson from Llewellyn's going to present, and Coach Josh McFather, who I remember him as a child, like literally like 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and we used to play Nintendo together when I worked for his father. Brooks County's gonna be there next year to present. And I mean, it was just great seeing those guys, and they all did a great job. Super excited to have, those guys come up and do that. But But that was it. That was the SunCoaches Retreat. It's the Ides of March. The Ides of March, traditionally in the job hunting business, is when the incomparable one, the master would say, Et Brute would say, and for you younger guys, you don't know who that is, but it used to be the vent. He used to do the jobs, and then I kind of more, I he kind of handed it off to me, and in deference to him and in honor of him, we always recognize the Ides of March, and that's when we quit posting job stuff. So the last thing I'm going to say about jobs is Upson Lee came open last week, and that's going to be one that may garner a little bit of late attention, Coach.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I don't know exactly what their process is going to look like. I've had people reach out, but too, it's not too early to tell. My hope is that we'll have a little bit of clarity this week and kind of see where everything falls. I mean, it's so late. You'd think if there's somebody on staff, they'd have a leg up on it. But it's yeah. I mean, it would have been one of the better jobs that came open, back in January. It's just kind of weird that it's happening now. So I still want to read the entire day. I don't know what the hell they're doing. So, and I guess Pace Academy came open because I saw that their head coach went to Alpharetta, Alpharetta, but never saw Pace. The job was open. So I don't know what the hell Pace Academy's doing either. But yeah, so we're kind of winding down. Alphavia, I think's in their final stages, and yeah, it's a weird off season, or weird March to be honest with you. But should be closing the book on that. I'm not gonna dig too deep on ups and leading them unless something really piques the interest, and I'll just keep praying for Redan because I guess they probably need it.
Well, as I've always said, every one of these jobs that comes open gets filled. And your long form articles that you started, I mean, the doppelganger stuff today was freaking fantastic. I'm glad that I'm got a face made for radio, and unless you put, Steve Buscemi or some other people that ain't no oil paintings on there, I won't make the list, and I ain't mad about it. But, that was fantastic. It was great. I thought it was hilarious. But your long form, series that you've got running right now, the Love 'Em or Hate 'Em, Coach, I think that's just fantastic. You've done another great job. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I think what makes high school football, you know, fun, interesting, engaging, and in states like ours, it's a mm, it's a 365, 12-month a year interest, right? And what makes some of this stuff so addictive is we have great personalities. Some of those personalities you love to beat, you love to hate. Um, you love to find ways to get under their skin and vice versa. And a lot of times it's associated with guys who are winners, right? They're guys who win. They might do it in a way that you disagree with and I disagree with. Or they're guys who are, seen as, well, they were born on third base. Imagine them coaching a Linear County, or some place like that, right? It's just, I think there's people who are really good at being able, they're comfortable in their own skin to where, listen, they're not going to back down from anybody saying something, or accusing you of something on social media, or sharing their opinion because they believe the only way that you can actually have um, creative problem solving in a conversation is you have to have difference of opinion, and you have to be willing to have that discussion without getting feelings hurt or fear of retaliation or retribution associated with it. Um, you're always going to have your Twitter trolls, and God knows I've ran into my fair share of them, since August. But the reality is, I started with Jay Gaines in Alabama, and Jay Gaines played at UAB, then he played at Georgia, and he was he coached at Moody this past year, won state championship. and then he goes over to Pell City for this upcoming year. There's just a lot of people in the state of Alabama that they think he's born on third base, think he's a cocky, arrogant guy, and here's reality. Okay, what's that your concern kind of thing? The reality is he just kind of goes back for his kids. He's funny on social media. I kind of compare him to Ben Reeves, right? Like I compare him to Ben, a younger version of Ben, where again he's not afraid to put his opinion out there and you be a part of the joke at times. It's not about being right as much as it is about, hey, I'm going to control my message and my narrative so nobody's having to guess what my thoughts are on something. Um, if something's good, he promotes it. If something's bad, he's gonna sit there and handle it how he should. But ultimately, he's the one voice of the team. I always think that's great. Then you go to the John Peacock down in Florida where it's Wild Wild West, and I gotta tell you, there's a lot of people don't like him for whatever reason, but I gotta be honest with you, my conversation with him, because I had a conversation with everybody I wrote about of just like, hey, I'm probably gonna do it on you, just giving them kind of a heads up, and he knew that just based on he is about again crafting the message, and you can disagree with it, you can call him a hypocrite, you can do all that stuff, but go beat him. Go beat him. You literally get to play by the same rules in Florida that he does. Just because you're not as good at it, I mean that's a you problem. It's not a him problem. He's not going to all up in a sudden stop doing what he's doing that's making him successful just because you can't figure out a way to do it better. Um, and then in Georgia, I don't think we have a villain right now. Um, I don't think we have a statewide villain. Um, I think that statewide villain definitely, you know, rode his Buffalo on out of here and is now white prime. But in my opinion, when we talk about personalities and people that drive conversations in the state, the one that I think all of us agree on is Rocky Hidalgo and at Glen Academy. I think he does a great job of providing commentary on certain odds and ends. He's not sitting here trying to make a political statement or be an ass. It's honestly stuff that well, it's kind of similar to stuff I put out at times where it's just topical. It's we all think it, he says it kind of thing. And you know, I think that if he were to up and take his ball and go home or get fired, I think that we would be losing a part of the personality of the state, and our sport is a lot less fun. Um, and the number one thing about all three of these, um, I got to be honest, if administrators, superintendents, Board of Educations, if they're worried about what their coaches are putting out on social media, especially when they're talking about these three guys that I've written on, show me one time anything that they put out there is it of a negative reflection on the school, the program, or anything that they represent. You can disagree with something they put out, but it doesn't mean it's a full representation of the school. Um, and for you just not to let the headache of somebody saying, "Well, I didn't like what he wrote." Oh my God, we talk about all the time. How shitty of a leader are you? Honestly, there are people who are so their job when they wake up in the morning is to find a reason to get upset and reach out to somebody in a decision making, you know, power and be a complete ass about it. As a leader, you have to handle that. And if you're not willing to handle it, well, maybe you shouldn't be a leader. Maybe you shouldn't be. And to me, I would think you would want your coaches to control the narrative in a responsible way, and also you should want them to have a personality. Like again, just so you don't have to do your part of the job of having your coaches' backs and you know saying, "Hey, yeah, this is my guy. Like I love that he has a personality. Let's get behind it." I mean, I don't understand this small-minded thinking of some of these places, and they'll leave their day. all things come around, and these bad leaders will have their day. And I'll be there with popcorn watching. So it was definitely a lot of fun doing it. A lot of great responses from people, a lot of trolls that want to sit there and try to say, "Why'd you do it on this SOB?" Da 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 da. And it's just like, yeah, this is why, because you felt the need to respond like that. That's why. That right there is 100% why, because you get so upset about an article about somebody who probably beat your ass and you didn't like it. You know how you fix it? You beat them. So grow up, grow up. But again, that's why you do it, because it generates a response. It's like the damn Gainesville people that always want to sit there. And it's like not a day goes by that I think that I mean, their leader of the cult left, and they still can't help but you know take his side. I put out there, there's that video going around of them all in the damn circle, doing their staged, you know, whatever you want to call it, like pump up speeches to the kids. Um, and I called it, they brought back Bull in the Ring for metrosexual football coaches. And that definitely got a lot of play, and a lot of people enjoyed it. Obviously, the games with people, select few of them didn't like it. But again, they think I'm referencing just Josh Nibble in there when it's really like five coaches go in there and speak. And my response is very simple. I didn't say anything about their coaching ability. I think y'all automatically think me saying something about it is saying that I don't think he's a good coach, or you just think that metrosexuals can't be good football coaches. I don't know which one, but I think they need to reevaluate. And then that got into the discussion about his time at Gainesville and all that jazz, and they just can't help themselves but jump to these conclusions that not all these people. Oh, we only had three move-ins his first year that were contributors, and off the top of my head, I rattled off seven. Like, it's just incredible how stupid they are, and I cannot stress it enough. I'm sitting there working my normal job, and here, what do we have? I get my phone blown up and said, "Hey, you need to handle this." I'm like, "Well, shit, I will in a minute." But then I read it, I was like, "Okay, well, this person's an idiot." And I don't want to make people have bad days. I don't want to make them feel bad. But some of these people deserve it because they just, they gotta go through a detox of stupidity on this. They really do. And just take a Google search, man, and look and see how many people transferred in. And it's not hard. There's like 18 articles. But damn, you just can't fix stupid. And these sons of bitches are about as stupid as it gets.
Well, I love the articles because it reminds me of a couple of things that my father told me growing up. Number one, nobody likes a winner. Number two, it ain't bragging if you can do it. And all of the coaches that you've had in there, they're all winners. That's what they do. I mean, Coach Niblett is a winner. I don't, there's very, I can probably name, there might be three people in this business I've come across that I just don't really care for. Now, there's a lot of guys I don't agree with how they do what they do, but as far as taking away from their ability, what they provide for their communities and I would never do that because they've been successful. That's just not, I don't roll that way anyway. But, I apologize for the beep that came on. I have do not disturb on, but we just got we ain't having school tomorrow because their Dorothy and Toto are gonna might fly by your house. So we finally got that call. That's what that was. So we shouldn't have any more of those. So I apologize for that little beep you might have heard, but it was, I thought those were all well done. When it comes to Rocky Hidalgo, don't try to get in a battle of wits with somebody that has as many English degrees as he has, that's as well read as he is, that's as sharp as he is outside of football. We're not even going to talk about what he knows about football. We're going to talk about what he can sit down. I don't know that there's a topic that he could not intelligently carry on a conversation about. And he's one of the best of us. I mean, as a coach, as a person, I've never seen him put anything on the internet that's out of the way that requires, he's never been investigated. There's no moral turpitude. There's no whatever, and he doesn't take himself very seriously either. He knows how to make fun of himself, and that's a lost art.
When
And
him and I spoke when him and I spoke, we spent most of that time talking about conspiracy theories, and I'm telling you right now that, like, I would 100% just put a microphone on him and have him go through some of the conspiracy theories that he can probably convince some folks on. I think he's got a unique mind, and he's very good at, walking through some different things. So I definitely think it's worth it's, it's like with Jay Reed. If you don't like Rocky, it's probably just like a you and a confidence of who you are and your own skin and your intelligence. Like, I make no bones about it. There's thousands of football coaches that are significantly more intelligent than I am, better at so many things, and I'm comfortable knowing who I am, what I'm good at, what I'm not good at, and I think that if you're not willing to say, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, or whatever, I mean, you're selling yourself just significantly short from a growth standpoint and from a learning standpoint. And, I just sit back and anytime I've talked to any of these coaches that I've been lucky enough to talk with, I mean, it's me asking a question, just like being a sponge for however long I'm able to speak with them. So it's great.
Well, one of the things that I'm thinking about doing is a once a monthish kind of thing. Is Coach Feaster pointed out when we were talking one night before the Glazier Clinic about 'cause he has a coach that he and James got on a rant about alien bases under Antarctica, and Feaster said, "Hey, you ought to call Rocky and do a coaches and conspiracies show." And I was like, "Absolutely," because I'm a Bigfoot guy. I don't make any bones about it. I will argue. I will talk about it. I believe in Bigfoot. I know there's a Bigfoot. And then one of the coaches on Coach Feaster's staff that came from Colorado was like, "I've seen him on a fishing trip," and I was like, "You have my attention." But you know, coaches and Rocky's not the only one like that in our business, in our state or any other state. When you deal with football coaches, a lot of the people in leadership positions don't like to admit the fact that some coaches actually do have high IQs and some coaches aren't meatheads that all they do is live, eat, and breathe football. There are some of us that football coaching or coaching in general is what we do. It's not who we are. And that's not a knock on people that's your identity and that's everything that consumes your universe. That's fine. You know, I just happen to not be one of those people, and Rocky's definitely not one of those people. When it's time to work, you work, and when it's time to think about what's on the other side of the end of space, assuming that there's an end of space, boom, there you go. There's Rocky. I mean, that's the kind of things that he thinks about, and I just love the fact that he has been able to show people that there's other facets to our personalities than just being, you know, roided up meathead football coach, the stereotypical guy. And like you said, and I'm not throwing shade or picking at anybody, but most middle and South Georgia guys, and I imagine in every state, most rural and coaches, they look at the big city metrosexual type guys and are like, well, that guy doesn't know anything about football. Look, he's wearing skinny jeans and he's dressed like Jeff Collins. I mean, what are we doing here? So there's that. You also got to speak this week with Joey King. How'd that go, coach?
Well, he was driving through some severe weather at the time, so we got to speak for a little bit, and he obviously him calling a nameless, faceless guy like me, he's a little hesitant, but yeah, as we got talking, it was really a very enjoyable discussion, and he definitely has a wealth of knowledge, and just again, it's one of those things where when you're talking to him and you hear some of the stories and things that he goes through and his processes, I think that it definitely makes you have a clearer picture. And one of the things, because he does not do social media during football season, he doesn't, and he only does it rarely in the off season. But I think he'd be somebody that would benefit from actually having that social media presence, because so much is said and assumed based on whatever other people are writing or assuming based on secondhand knowledge. And to me, that's another part of it. right? Like he knows what the critiques are of him. He knows he's aware of those things. And to his credit, it doesn't bother him. But I mean, at some point it will. It would bother all of us to a certain degree. But he's comfortable in who he is. Who he's got a low key sense of humor there, and I think that I think if there's one talent that I could attribute to this is like I can get some people to break out of their shell and show me a little bit about their personality, when I do have an opportunity to talk to them, once I kind of figure out what the, you know, where I can stir that pot and get them talking about some stuff, so that's always good. But yeah, I mean, you can tell he loves his players. He loves being at Carrollton. And I think that it was definitely a good conversation with him. And hopefully, have some more opportunities to connect with him. And if you guys have anybody that you think would be a good person to answer some questions or just hear from them and kind of see what they're like, heck yeah, send them my way. Be happy to connect with them. Well, I do think it's unique based on situations. Some places don't have the ability to get, some of your lower classes, single A, double A, that they're not going to be able to have their full teams out there. So having a spring scrimmage doesn't make a lot of sense. So using that for just time to work with whoever is there and whoever is available, I think that would be the main focus. If you've been at places like I've been at, we knew you were going to have basically everybody out there, even if they were running track or whatever, football became the priority, and then they would go and run in whatever it was. And so I think it's just kind of different. But I know that leading into spring, I always like making sure that day one of spring, especially if you've been at a place, you know, you're not, we've installed what we're installing, offensively or defensively, to where we hit the ground running, Monday of spring and we're ready to get after it and actually get out there and start preparing for the spring opponent. I like having an opponent just because it gives us something to build to and to work towards, and it kind of gives them a preview of how the season's going to operate, to as much of a degree as possible. I'm a big believer that I don't want a yellow jersey on a quarterback, just because, you know, they've got to learn how to protect themselves. They've got to learn how to do these things. Um, and if you're always playing not to get somebody hurt, I think that's when you get somebody hurt. But everybody's got a different way of doing it. I think that the main thing in spring is, it's the most attendance you're going to have, for guys who are coming out and trying it. Some guys that you've recruited from the hallways. So, I think you do need to treat it in a way that's like, hey, how do we get some wins for these kids, in practice to keep them wanting to come out and motivated to go into summer, to be a part of this team and to build what we're building and to do the things that we want them to do to be successful. It's spring practice is that first opportunity to start building on what you've been working on since January in the weight room. So I think it's a good opportunity to see who some emerging leaders are, see who's grown. Um, I really think that it's an opportunity to really hone in on starting to build kind of the identity of your team a little bit and figure out where we need to grow in the off season. That's why I like playing an opponent. Anytime you can hit another color jersey, um, that's one more opportunity that you're not going to be able to have. And getting with the other coach of the spring game, and if you're a bigger school, you want to play it like a real football game minus, maybe live special teams, great. But you have a three varsity quarters, a fourth quarter that's JV, and a fifth quarter for freshmen. Everybody gets the reps, and we get it on film, and we film with the drones, making sure that everybody has a good film, everybody can be evaluated, and every time my mommy and daddy wants to come and talk to me about why so and so is not playing here or there or whatever, we got film to evaluate, and we got an opportunity to show them how they've grown from the spring to the summer to the next scrimmage. And now, once fall starts, you have enough data to support any decision of any parent that wants to come and say that they're 7-on-7 coach. or their recruiting guru that they hired said that we're not, using him the right way. He'd be a 5 star, da da da. Yeah, well, go kick rocks. Pay me what you're paying that guy. I'll tell you he's really good, and I'm still not going to play his ass because he's not better than the kid in front of him. How about that? So, I think that the spring is that first opportunity, though. It's first opportunity. It's one of the best opportunities to really start that fundraising. Like, I've got a guy at Leading Edge that does those textathons. He said that, listen, that right there, spring practice is when people make a lot of dang money because that's most kids. Most kids, you run it during spring and shoot, that's 30, 40, $50,000 just pumped into that football team. And, you know, now you're not having to do some damn discount cards. You're not having to, do a dang, chicken sale. Come on now. That's easy money. So, if anybody does need a contact there, shoot me a DM. I'll be happy to share the guy that I've known for a few years, and he does a good job with.
Well, one of the things I heard that this weekend was Stephen Holmes of Pike County, and he referenced another coach he got it from. When you're at a smaller classification school, they're big on playing as many scrimmages as they can because you can't always get a look offensively of people you're going to play. Like, you're going to play a wing T team, try to scrimmage a wing T team because they're going to give you a much better look than your little Scooby Doos out there that you put on Scaldo. And I thought that was cool, but we'll start wrapping it up with that. I want to let everyone know, some coaches and everybody that's affiliated with us, our thoughts and prayers are with young athlete up at Ringgold High School, Elijah Pursley. He's been diagnosed with cancer. We'd like everybody's thoughts and prayers with the Pursley family as he enters the battle of his life, and we know he's going to get it. And if he's the kind of child he is and the kind of person he is that he works, he'll get this thing taken care of. But just have your thoughts and prayers with the Ringgold community as they have one of their ball players dealing with illness right there. Like to remind everybody that this week we'll have Coach Bobby Ramsey from Andrew Jackson High School at Jacksonville, Florida. Multiple state championships, coached some freaking absolute dudes. He's going to come on. He's going to be on Thursday. Coach, what you got going on this week?
Awesome to see how it all plays out. Got a interesting phone call that's going to be set up. Talking to the now retired Tony Franklin. The inventor of the Tony Franklin system that I know we all are very familiar with. So very excited to have that opportunity to sit down and have a conversation with him and just kind of shoot the shit with him a little bit and kind of see hear all the lessons and just be a sponge and kind of hear some of the fun things that he's encountered in his career. And, so I'll be looking forward to that. And then, I'm working on two things right now. One is the political affiliations of offenses that you run. So, your wing tees and kind of how that would, align politically. And then we also have something that just popped up, earlier this evening where, you know, apparently there's some shocker poorly ran 7-on-7, organizations and coaches, if you want to call them that. Guys, I think we got to go back to bullying, especially publicly on some of these adults. That these are people that deserve to be called out. These are people that deserve our absolute ridicule because the only way they're going to stop doing stupid shit is you call them on stupid shit. Okay, so let's all band together and call out stupidity. Call it out. Again, if you're gonna sit there and talk trash to a high school kid, um, I mean, the amount of just stupidity and unprofessionalism you give you give coaches a bad name, you give adult males a bad name. Um, Again, like those are the I I I hate saying the word hate, but boy do I hate these dudes. They're honestly a rung below the recruiting gurus, and y'all know how I feel about those guys. So these guys are going around to. I heard a story from somebody. They took a few kids up to Clemson. One of their kids could probably play at Clemson, and this guy was standing over there with a Clemson shirt on, and he walked by him, and he's asking, "Oh, who'd you bring?" And one of the measurables, one what he ran a 40 in, and want to know where he was from, and then the coach turns to him and asks him, "Okay, well, what about you?" And he said, because he made the comment, "Oh, that kid can't play here," and so the coach said, "Okay, so who you got here?" He said, "Man, I got 8 kids here. All of them can play here, but I don't know if I'm going to let them play here." And he goes, "Yeah, I run the so and so 7-on-7 team, and we're 3-time national champions. So all we do is put out D1 kids." I'm like, man, that dude is what's wrong with the 7-on-7 culture. That dude is what is wrong with those individuals. And I mean, I'm sure that Joker probably still he's got a dang Bluetooth in his ear, fanny pack around his waist, and you know, sells beepers. Like that's just a piece of shit. And I got nothing for him, and I want them called out and bullied like hell, so they'll stop doing this shit. Same goes for those people that want to sit there and post, I'm committed to this high school graphics. All of those people should all get together and go join an island, and so they can go and do that shit, to their, just there. I just want it off my feet. I want these people gone because they are what are ruining our kids, and I can't sit by and stand for it.
Well, Coach, I'd like to encourage anyone that would like to advertise or become a co-title sponsor with Sun Coaches Podcast. Reach out and contact me. We got season 9's coming up. There'll be all videos. We're gonna transform into video. I've kind of put a little taste out there. Coach Tyler Arndt at North Oconee is going to be our first episode in season 9 as we wrap up season 8. And I just like to thank everyone for listening. Encourage you to like, subscribe, and share, and to remember to relax. It's just satire. Most